Hello? Well, I guess this is working, isn't it? Yes, very good. To our co-host university sponsors, community, and government partners, planning committee, and volunteers, welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm Paul Robinson, chair of the Kyoto Symposium organization, and I thank you all for being here. Our annual Kyoto Prize Symposium would not be possible without your support and commitment. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. This is a very special year. This is the 40th anniversary of the Kyoto Prizes. Dr. Inamori started it 40 years ago. And we are celebrating our 25th anniversary here in San Diego. Dr. Inamori has adopted San Diego as his second. He did adopt San Diego as his second home, bringing Kyocera here, and creating my home, which was his home, downtown San Diego, the first high-rise project called Meridian. He was the money behind that, and it was very successful because of that. So thank you, Dr. Inamori. As we reflect on the past 25 years, I would like to pay homage to our founding chairman, Malin Burnham, Qualcomm's Dr. Irwin Jacobs, restaurateur Tom Fatt, USD's second president, Dr. Alice Hayes, and Kyocera's VP, Mike Inouye, who through community-wide effort paved the way for Kyoto Prize to be hosted in San Diego. Today, the Kyoto Symposium is still a beloved community affair, and it has a great impact on our great city here in San Diego. Past participants include Carver Mead, Pina Bausch, A.C. Miyake, Jane Goodall, Carl Disarath, Shinya Yamanaki, and even our own oceanographer, Walter Munk. Several have gone on to win the Nobel Prize, too. We are looking forward to another great year, and we hope today's presentations and subsequent conversations may generate some great ideas for the symposium, as well as inspire us to think positively about the future. In addition to the leadership in various sectors of our community, academic, government, corporate, and cultural institutions here with us today, I'd like to acknowledge San Diego City Council member Vivian Marino. Vivian, where are you? Stand up, please. She did not make it? Okay, well, Vivian is a supporter, as well as other council members. They're big supporters of this organization, and we very much appreciate it. I'd like to also acknowledge some of our board of directors here with us today. Please stand. Our vice chair, Dr. Ann Kessler. Our treasurer, Jay Scovey. Our secretary, Annalisa Barrett. Dennis Otsuchi. Kate Leonard. Hank Nordoff. I guess Rod Lanthorn, I saw Rod, so Rod, I know Rod is here. Where are you, Rod? And Dr. Mary Walshak. With special thanks to our partners at Point Loma Nazarene University for co-hosting today's lunch, I'd like to give the stage to President Dr. Kerry Fulcher to offer his words of welcome. Thank you all again for being here.
Thank you, Paul, and let me just add my welcome to our Liberty Station campus at Point Loma Nazarene University. It's really hard to believe that a year's gone by. It seems like we were just sitting around these tables not too long ago planning for last year's event. And so we are looking forward to this year, just as we had a wonderful opportunity last year. As Paul mentioned, the symposium is celebrating its 25th year here in San Diego. Point Loma has been involved for the past 18 years, and we've been very proud and grateful to be a part of this. We're also grateful for the leadership from the Kyoto Symposium organization, both past and present, and for all of the university partners that have continued to make this event really a highlight in San Diego each year. One, to celebrate the accomplishments of the laureates, but also to inspire the next generation by providing scholarships so that they can pursue an education for the betterment of society and humankind. And so we are just grateful again to be a part of this fine event, and we look forward to all that is going to transpire here over the course of the time between now and when we host here in March. So again, welcome to Point Loma Nazarene University. And if you'll, we're going to have a video presentation next, and after that, Ann Kessler will come up and address us as well. Thank you.
The Kyoto Prize is an international award that honors individuals who have contributed significantly to the scientific, cultural, and spiritual betterment of humankind. It is given each year by the Inamori Foundation, which was founded in 1984 with the initial private funds of the late Dr. Kazuo Inamori, founder of the Kyocera Corporation. The foundation awards 3 prizes annually in the following fields: Advanced Technology, Basic Sciences, and Arts and Philosophy. Each year, the Kyoto Prize Symposium is held in San Diego, California, with attendees arriving from all over the world. The annual 3-day event kicks off with a celebratory gala evening attended by many of San Diego's academic, corporate, and philanthropic leaders. The gala audience learns about the current year's laureates' extraordinary achievements and then hears briefly from each. Another highlight of the evening is hearing from select recipients of the Kyoto Prize scholarships, which are funded by gala proceeds. These impressive high school students from San Diego and Tijuana have been inspired to pursue a college education in one of the 3 Kyoto Prize categories.
My plan is to study biotechnology at the Tecnológico de Monterrey, and after that I would like to earn a master's degree in agronomic engineering. My goal with this is to research ways to help people that live in rural areas and farmers that live in poor conditions to increase their corn harvest by finding varieties that are suitable for a specific conditions, a specific environment, and all the challenges of their area.
So I started a program on my robotics competition team at my school that brings programming outreach to, underserved and low-income middle and elementary schools around San Diego County.
As a freshman in high school, I co-founded 501c3 nonprofit All Girls STEM Society with the goal of creating a fun, encouraging, hands-on learning platform for girls to explore their interests in STEM.
The symposium continues on the campuses of Point Loma Nazarene University and the University of California, San Diego. Free public presentations, lectures, and workshops by the latest Kyoto Prize laureates and esteemed scholars in the laureates' fields attract the region's best and brightest, as well as hundreds of high school students from Tijuana and Southern California. Each year, organizers also provide hundreds of students from underserved areas with free busing, lunches, and university campus tours to enhance the Kyoto Prize Symposium experience at a pivotal stage in their development. During their stay in San Diego, the laureates also meet with the symposium's key sponsors, providing these supporters the unique opportunity to interact with remarkable luminaries who have changed the world we live in. This prestigious event shines an international spotlight on San Diego, exemplified by the laureates' live public presentations on local university campuses, recorded and posted online for virtual viewing worldwide. With more than 20,000 high school and college students from San Diego and Tijuana who have attended Kyoto Prize Symposia, And with the awarding of over $5 million in scholarships to high school students in the region, the Kyoto Prize Symposium elevates San Diego as a scientific, technology, and cultural leader and helps reinforce our region's rising prominence on the world stage. In the words of Dr. Inamori, human beings have no higher calling than to strive for the greater good of humanity and society. San Diego is honored to play a role in this noble mission.
Long way here. Yeah, I'm sitting right there. I'm Dr. Ann Kessler, and I'm the vice chair of the Kyoto Prize Symposium. I became interested in the Kyoto Prize Symposium when I heard Dr. Inamori's lifelong belief, which is what you just saw, that a human being has no higher calling than to strive for the betterment of human beings and the world. He created the Kyoto Prize in order to recognize outstanding accomplishments in the progress of science, the advancement of civilization, and the elevation and enhancement of the human spirit. This all really struck my heart. And it's the foundation on which our organization exists, grows, and makes a difference. Along with PLNU, UCSD has been a key I come from corporate, a key academic partner for the Kyoto Prize Symposium, appointing host faculty for our annual laureates and hosting our main academic lectures. Today, we have 3 faculty from each of these departments presenting on this year's laureates. They will be introduced by their leadership. So with appreciation and kind thanks, please welcome Dr. Bill Lin. Dr. Lin will be followed by Dr. Kit Pogliano, and our last will be Professor William Bechtel. I will return later. Thank you. This is the very exciting part of this event.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Rose Yu from the Computer Science and Engineering Department at UC San Diego. I can say a lot of things about Dr. Yu. She is one of our star faculty in Computer Science and Engineering. She's an associate professor currently, and her research focuses on advancing machine learning to large-scale spatial temporal data systems. And her work is very special in the sense that she's one of the leaders in the machine learning field that are driven by what's called physics-guided deep learning. And she has done a lot of work on having a hybrid framework to integrate the first principles into deep neural networks. She's the recipient of many, many prestigious awards, including the Presidential Early Career Award called PCAS, which is the highest honor given by the White House to early career scientists. She's also the winner of the Army Early Career Award as well, called ECAS, the NSF Career Award, the Hellman Fellowship, and several industry faculty research awards. She was named the MIT Technology Review Innovators Under 35 in Artificial Intelligence, and she just won from Samsung the AI Researcher of the Year from Samsung. And so just an incredible researcher and faculty at UC San Diego. Anecdotally, it's very appropriate for her to serve as a host faculty for Dr. Amari, in that Dr. Amari is a pioneer in information geometry, bridging mathematics, statistics, and neurocomputation. And Dr. Yu's research in physics-guided deep learning aligns very well with Dr. Amari's vision in integrating rigorous mathematics with intelligent systems. So with this, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Yu as Dr. Amari's host faculty. Thank you very much.
Hi, it is a great honor for me to be the faculty host for Dr. Mary. I'm very pleased to introduce you to some of his wonderful work. So, Dr. Mary was born in Tokyo, Japan in 1936. He got his PhD from University of Tokyo in 1963. His PhD thesis was about the diacopics of information spaces. So he had a short stint at Kyushu University for 4 years, and afterwards he spent the majority of his career in the University of Tokyo, where he rose through the ranks. In 1996, he retired as a professor emeritus and started his position in the Riken brain science, and that's what he's working right now. So Dr. Murray made landmark contributions to many fields. Here are the two highlights. The first one is the theory of neural networks, where he studied rigorously the method of stochastic gradient descent. He proposed this concept called self-organizing neural nets and the associative memory model. He also used statistical mechanics to understand how neural networks learn, a field called statistical neurodynamics. The second seminal contribution Dr. Murray made is in this field called information geometry. I would rather say he created this field of information geometry. So he studied this group of statistical distributions called exponential family and point out there's very remarkable connections with tools from differential geometry. He then proposed an optimization algorithm called natural gradient using this intricate connection that speed up the training of neural networks. He also wrote a book in 2000 called The Method of Information Geometry. So let me dive deeper into two of these landmark contributions. So this plot is the performance relative to the human baseline over the number of years. It is described by the 2025 Stanford AI Index report. So the horizontal dashed line is what the human would perform in different type of benchmark tasks. And then different lines corresponding to different skills. For example, classifying image or image classification, English language understanding, competitive level mathematics, or even PhD level science questions. As you can see, as we progress over the years, AI is increasingly outperforming human baselines in a large range of benchmarks. So the fundamental driving force behind the new AI revolution is this field called neural networks or deep learning. So it's a type of computational methods that mimic how brain works and to process a massive amount of information and learn patterns from data. The significance of neural networks was highlighted by the last year's Nobel Award in Physics, awarded to John Hopfield and Geoffrey Hinton for their foundational discovery that enabled machine learning with artificial neural networks. As a matter of fact, The paper that Dr. Murray wrote in 1972, called the self-organizing neural networks, are mathematically equivalent to a Hopfield network, of which Dr. Hopfield was awarded Nobel Prize in. But Dr. Murray discovered independently of this concept 10 years earlier. This concept of using a recurrent architecture that can learn to associate input patterns with output patterns by changing its connection weights truly mimic how brain processes information, and that's the emergence of intelligence from electronic systems. The second landmark contribution of information geometry is that Dr. Murray connected these two seemingly remote fields. One is statistics and probability. The other is pure mathematics, specifically differential geometry. So he realized if we view a family of probabilistic distributions as curved manifold, then we can use tools from differential geometry to study probability theory and statistics. And using an insight, we can then derive optimization algorithms, as you can see here in the figure, where we're trying to find the lowest point in this very complex optimization landscape. And then his optimization algorithm, natural gradient, significantly speed up the training of deep neural network. And his contribution in information theory is probably better explained by the expert in the field, the Professor Misha Belkin, also a faculty in UCSD, who studied optimization and deep learning theory.
I first came across it as a graduate student when I was working on manifold learning. The idea was that natural data, like realistic images, lie on a low-dimensional submanifold inside a much larger space of all possible images. A key geometric concept in manifold geometry is something called Gaussian or intrinsic curvature.
Wait, what's going on?
I first came across it as a graduate student when I was working on manifold learning. The idea was that natural data, like realistic images, lie on a low-dimensional submanifold inside a much larger space of all possible images. A key geometric concept in manifold geometry is something called Gaussian or intrinsic curvature. If it is zero, like on a cylinder, you can locally flatten a surface without stretching or tearing it. Think about unrolling a paper tube, for example. If it is non-zero, as on a sphere, no patch can be flattened without distorting distances. That's why no map of Earth's surface can be totally accurate. Professor Murray treated probability distributions as points on a manifold with the Fisher-Rao metric measuring distances. Therefore, a parametric family of distribution is a submanifold of this infinite-dimensional space. The remarkable result of Professor Murray is that a family of distributions is an exponential family, an important concept in probability, if and only if it is flat with respect to the exponential connection. So this idea brought fundamental geometric ideas into statistics. Later, he extended this geometric viewpoint by introducing the natural gradient, which uses the Fisher-Rao geometry to guide learning more efficiently, and that has become a foundational concept for modern optimization in machine learning.
So Dr. Murray's work has deep impact on AI and data science. His analysis of stability, convergence, and information flow underpins later breakthroughs such as Hopfield networks, backpropagation, and modern recurrent architectures. His optimization method, natural gradient, are now standard optimizers in large-scale machine learning and deep reinforcement learning systems. The connection in information geometry that he pointed out foreshadows today's emphasis on probabilistic graphical model, generative AI, and representation learning. Furthermore, his research has sustained influence on estimation and coding theory in signal processing, communication, as well as quantum information geometry in quantum computing. Dr. Murray has two personal hobbies, according to one of the interviews he made. One of them is playing Go, despite the fact that computers are really strong today as playing Go, even defeating the world Go champions. But according to Dr. Murray, computers are much stronger than humans. Still, it is interesting to play with a human. The second hobby he has is to do research. According to him, the practical success of modern AI, deep learning, is going ahead. But what he's worried about is that we don't really know why it works so well, and the theory behind it is still far behind. He's determined to continue his endeavor in this region, and that will continue to inspire many, many of the generations to come. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kit Poliano. I'm the Dean of Biological Sciences at UC San Diego. And it's my great pleasure to be here today with all of you celebrating these fantastic scholars, and also to introduce one of UC San Diego's scholars, Dr. Dong-Er Zhang. Dr. Zhang is a distinguished professor in the Department of Molecular Biology in the School of Biological Sciences, and in the Department of Pathology in the UC San Diego School of Medicine. She also has an appointment in the Moores Cancer Center, and her research studies the molecular basis of cancer and cellular basis of cancer, and how these interesting rearrangements and mutations that characterize cancer cells can drive the development of cancer. She is one of our most distinguished scholars, and she has been recognized by the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and she is also an elected fellow in the American Association for the Advancement of Science, which is a really fantastic award. And on top of those awards, she is also a fantastic instructor. She teaches the molecular basis of human disease, and she's also the chair of the Department of Molecular Biology. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Zhang.
Thank you, Dean Poliano, for the introduction. And also, it's my honor to come here to discuss about Dr. Azim Surani's work, why the work is so impactful, and for him to get this really great prize. So let's see the next slide. So Dr. Surani was born in Kenya in 1945 and received his early education in Kenya. Then he moved to United Kingdom and did his Doctor of Philosophy degree study with Sir Robert Edwards. Maybe some of you know who is Sir Edwards. And actually, there is a movie made by Netflix last year called Joy, specifically talk about Edwards' work. He is a pioneer and in the human in vitro fertilization, and produced the first in vitro fertilization generated baby in 1978. That time period, it's a lot of challenge to do this, but he is a developmental physiologist and know a lot about early embryo development. And Dr. Surani was his student in Cambridge, University of Cambridge, and during that time period, so he knows a lot about how to really control the fertilization process by using different kind of approach. Okay, so then with this really strong background in this field, his major contribution lead to today's award is the started the genomic imprinting, this concept, and also further developed the genes involved in this process and how this gene regulated by genomic imprinting. So, as we all know, for most organisms, the generation production is through the like male and female, with most organism cells are really somatic cells, but there's still a small number is germline cells. These germline cells basically is used to produce the offspring, and through a special cell division called meiosis to generate the one end cell. So that means instead of the diploid cell contains one gene from mother, one gene from father, germ cell only contain one. Okay. Then this male one produce sperm, that's a germ cell, and the female produce egg, germ cell, and these two fertilize, form the fertilized egg. We call it zygote. And this one through many cycles of cell proliferation and make the whole body. Okay, so, and then come to the genetics. What's really interesting about this is in Mendelian genetics, that's a classical genetic concept. The disease with gene mutation transferred from either mother or father. So when in this case, we're saying if they are like disease one, like people carry disease will be solid color, and with the bad gene but no disease will be with a dot, otherwise will be healthy, perfect gene. So there's two very famous disease. One is Huntington disease, which is a dominant inheritance, and then sickle cell anemia is recessive inheritance, which means one, as long as you have the gene, then you have problem. The other one is you have to have two bad genes, then you have problem. But in this case, doesn't matter the gene, the bad gene come from mother and father. For the dominant one, the person always got the problem. Okay, so then scientists are always very curious about everything. They try to really see what's really the possibility of not really this way. So they are organisms. They are not really depends on fertilization, can make a reproduction. Okay, in this case, the word called is parthenogenetic. So this means virgin birth. So you probably heard about this. So they are algae, like insect, like a bee, or like lizard. They can just produce without fertilization. The female egg can do the job. Okay. So, but not really in mammal. We never really see this. Therefore, Dr. Surani's group said, is that possible? Let we make like experiment to really see whether it's possible. He can put change the nucleus inside the cell, fertilize the egg. And he made a conclusion after all the try. He said, no, in mammal, to use mouse, you have to have both male and female contribution, the DNA, to make this. Otherwise, it won't work. And how can that be? So he thought about it, he have the concept, some gene must be not really expressed. Either from mother not expressed or from father not expressed. You need both mother and father's gene, right? So then he called this genomic imprinting. So in 1984, he published this work in the top journal in the world. And take another 5 years, people realize what is the first imprint gene identified. Okay, and this is very important. Why? Because this gave a field called epigenetics, which means you can have the same DNA sequence in the gene, but the gene, the DNA, could be modified, not by the DNA sequence, by something get on top of it, modified, this way called methylation, DNA methylation in this case. So if the gene methylated, it can be like genomic imprinted, not expressed. So then in this case, we can see, so the imprinted gene can be either is maternally imprinted, then it only expressed paternally, or is paternally imprinted, not expressed in the maternal side. Therefore, if you only have the DNA from one side, it won't really develop because missing the express of the gene. So in this case, then there is another type of human disease, it's the inheritance, not the Mendelian style. This one is totally genomic imprinting related. In this particular pedigree, this person kind of disease called Prader-Willi disease is a paternal expressed gene, maternally imprinted gene. Therefore, like in this case, the mother with the disease, but the gene come to the germ cell from mother's side were not expressed. Therefore, their children all fine, no problem, nobody really have disease. Okay, then come to the next generation. If her son got the disease, got the gene, not disease, then his children, if carry this by the gene, will have the disease. But their daughter with this by the gene, her children will be fine. So this is a totally different set of genetic inheritance pattern. So, and this really gave the scientists the possibility identify a lot of problems related to the genetic, not really Mendelian inheritance style. In this case, very true, like the disease I'm teaching in my class is one is Prader-Willi syndrome, one is Angelman syndrome. So Prader-Willi syndrome is the gene, by the gene come from father. The Angelman syndrome, the by gene come from mother. So in Prader-Willi syndrome, so in this case, this is rare disease. The person after birth, one symptom is very reduced muscle tone. Another one is like increased eating, and one is after 1 year old, like a young kid. But initially, because of muscle weakness, they cannot suckle the milk. They have to really special feeding. So they generally die earlier. And if you look at them, this is a newborn, not really strong the muscle. And then during the early stage of life, they are overweight, have to really control their eating. And in Angelman syndrome, it's another rare disease, but in this case, its problem is a mental retardation. So the person really have a lot of issues, and most obvious problem is really the tremor, the speech, all this, and they suddenly laugh a lot. If we look at them, they always have smiling face in a way. Now means everybody look smiling face means they have Angelman disease, but these people, they do. Yeah. So then this really triggered the field to study epigenetics, DNA methylation, and other methylations, regular gene expression. And here shows after many, many years since the word genomic imprinting come out, the scientists identified the region in chromosome 15 on both mother and father side. The blue one shows the father side should be expressed, mother side should be imprinted, not expressed. If those genes wrong, then it's a disease if from father side. From mother side, no problem. And then from mother side, you also can see the gene which is supposed to be expressed. If those wrong, is Angelman disease. And also, these genes, so far, we identify about 200 genes called genomic imprinted gene. And they generally control the food taking, the growth, the metabolism, this type of situation. And also notice if their expression level have to be well controlled. Like this gene called UBE3A, if it's wrong, it's Angelman disease. But it's too good, overexpressed, it could link to autism. So that's how the initial genomic imprinting really impacted the entire field and made a lot of new discoveries since 1984. So I'm going to stop here. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Bechtel. I am Associate Dean in Arts and Humanities, and it's my privilege today to introduce my colleague for over 20 years in the Department of Philosophy, and now fellow Associate Dean, Jonathan Cohen. Jonathan is a philosopher who works in both philosophy of mind and philosophy of language, and in both of these cases, he works on problems in those fields. So much of his work has been devoted to a phenomenon that we're all quite familiar with, the perception of color. And I think many of us quickly think, well, color is a very subjective thing. How we perceive color depends upon how our brains are working and how our visual system as a whole is working. And so we think of it as subjective, and sometimes that translates into it's not a real phenomenon. Well, what Jonathan has done is developed a way of thinking about color that's both original and I think gives us a very interesting handle on how color can be real. And what he develops is an argument that color is a relational phenomenon. It relates the thing in the world with reflective properties and an organism with a perceptual system, and it depends upon context. Viewed that way, we don't have to think of it as purely subjective, but something real. Jonathan's work also extends to language, and he's doing some exciting work on the kinds of modeling that we build, models we build as we understand various kinds of sentences. So it's not language perception is not just a decoding of a symbol string, but is an active process of developing a cognitive model. Besides his very stimulating and original work in philosophy, Jonathan has been a great contributor to a great citizen of our university. He had, in many ways, the unfortunate challenge of being department chair when COVID struck our campus and struck the whole world. And he did an amazing job, not only of helping our department, philosophy, cope with COVID, but he reached out to many other chairs and other departments and provided resources of how we could rethink, redo teaching and administration in the era of COVID. He stepped down from that onerous job simply to turn around and become Associate Dean of Arts and Humanities. So it is my privilege to introduce Jonathan Cohen, who will be the host for Carol Gilligan when she comes this spring. Jonathan.
Thanks, Bill, for that gracious introduction. And yeah, I'm excited to be here with you all today and to be the host for Carol Gilligan when she comes. I wanted to give you a brief overview of some of Gilligan's most important ideas. So let's see, Gilligan is an American developmental psychologist, and she's worked in feminism. She is a 1964 PhD from Harvard. She's held appointments at a variety of prestigious universities, including Chicago, Harvard, Cambridge and NYU, where she now is. She serves as University Professor of Humanities and Applied Psychology. As you might expect from somebody eminent enough to be even a candidate for the Kyoto Prize, she is a prolific researcher with already a long list of amazing, prestigious awards. I want to focus today on what I think is uncontroversially her most landmark contribution, her 1982 book, In a Different Voice, Psychological Theory and Women's Development. So let me give you the backdrop, which starts with Kohlberg, who was an important developmental psychologist prior to her own work, and in fact was her teacher and I believe her PhD supervisor. So Kohlberg is a developmental psychologist. That means he's interested in the development of our psychological capacities. In his case, he was super interested in how we come to have the cognitive apparatus to reason about morality. And he was thinking about, the emergence of moral reasoning in kiddos and when it comes online and how it comes online, what are the different stages. And so the big picture of Kohlberg's view is he divided things into 3 stages, the first of which is the pre-conventional stage. This is a stage that's characterized by the moral reasoning you see in young children. Well, maybe many of us never escape from this early stage. But in any case, so the moral reasoning for young children is all about what are the external consequences of what's happening to me. So when I'm thinking about whether it's right or wrong to do something, the way to frame that question for me is, as a pre-conventional reasoner, all about what's going to happen to me from some external agent. Am I going to get a cookie? Am I going to get smacked? What's going to happen to me? The next stage, which characterizes the moral reasoning in typically adolescents and some adults, is the conventional stage. And here the reasoning isn't about whether I'm going to get a cookie, but I'm thinking about what are the prevalent societal norms, what are the laws, what others expect of me, right? I'm framing this all about my own moral decisions, but I guess it's not all about me, right? I can also be thinking about what you did and whether what you did is morally acceptable, permissible, mandatory. And again, the way I would answer that question if I were a conventional reasoner is in terms of these, again, external kinds of things, but they're societal. They're about conventions prevalent in society, hence conventional. And then there's the final stage, which is attained by not all adults. In fact, he thinks it's relatively rare to be a moral reasoner who thinks about moral problems this way. Here, the thinking is about abstract universal principles. So was what that person did morally correct? The way I reason about that is by trying to see how it interacts with general considerations, abstract considerations about justice, about the rights of others, about equality, about dignity. Okay, so that's the framework, that's the setup. Now here's a key finding. They of course have lots of operational tests that they're using to run their experimental subjects through, many of whom are kiddos. And here's the key finding, or a key finding. It turns out that given the scale just laid out, girls do worse than boys. They do worse in 2 respects. First, they hit the advancement milestones more slowly in their development, chronologically more slowly. And second of all, they don't get as far along on the scale as boys. Okay. So there have been some controversies about how good are those results, how empirically robust are those results. I'm not going to get into any of that. So let's just assume that the results are fine. Okay, it's just a fact, and now the question becomes, what should we make of that fact, that putative empirical fact? So Gilligan, again, Kohlberg's student, walking into this backdrop, has an interesting take, critical take on what I just laid out. So she proposes that, yeah, there is that observed gender difference. So her quibble isn't with the empirical bona fides of the experimental design or anything like that. She says, yeah, I'll accept that there is the observed gender difference, but we should think about the gender difference pretty differently. Instead of thinking about it as there's one true scale for moral reasoning and girls are bad at it and boys are good at it, That's not the right way to think about it. The right way to think about it is that girls and women are deploying a different but equally legitimate way of thinking about moral problems. So their moral reasoning is it's not worse, it's different. And this gives rise to her title, In a Different Voice. So what is this different voice, this different way of thinking about moral reasoning? Well, in contrast to the Kohlbergian emphasis on these universal abstract principles, what he and she call the ethic of justice, Gilligan proposed that there's this other way of thinking about moral reasoning, which focuses on relationships and interpersonal responsibility, empathy for others, caring for others. And so the label that Gilligan gave to this not worse but different voice for moral reasoning is care ethics. Now, given care ethics, it gives a totally different spin to the pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional stages. So she recast using those same labels and thinking about them as applying to roughly similar age exemplars. She recasts things this way. The pre-conventional thinker thinks about morality in terms of my own self-interest, or the thinkers, the reasoners' self-interest and survival. The conventional reasoner is focusing on self-sacrificing for the good of others, and the post-conventional thinker is finding a balance between those two different types of consideration. Let me give you an example, because this has all been very schematic. So this is an example that both Kohlberg and Gilligan talk about, the Heinz dilemma. So here's the situation, the fictional situation. A man's wife is very sick. She's bedridden. She is in danger of death. He would love to give her the drug, which is necessary and sufficient for her survival. But he can't afford it, and he goes to the druggist and asks for the price to be lowered, and the druggist won't lower the price. So the question now is, should the man steal in order to save his wife's life? So I'm not asking you the first order question, should he or shouldn't he? I'm asking you, let's reflect on the different types of moral reasoning that some thinker might deploy in attempting to answer that first order question. So if you're a justice ethics person, like Kohlberg said, is the highest level for post-conventional thinking, you're really thinking about the abstract principles and the conventional principles and everything all together. And so you're weighing, on the one hand, there's this conventional rule against stealing, and on the other hand, you might be weighing the abstract value of saving a life, and you're weighing these off against each other and trying to come to some conclusion. So that's what a justice ethics way of thinking about that problem is going to look like. But if you're a care ethics thinker, you don't reason about the moral problem that way at all. Rather, you're thinking, well, the man has relational duties to the other actors in the scenario. In particular, the man has relational duties to his wife, qua husband, and also, for that matter, has relational duties to the druggist and to maybe the other parties in society. And so the trading off problem in trying to reason to an outcome about the morality of whether to steal or not is really done pretty differently. It's on this care ethical picture. Okay, so that's the framework, and that's the application to a case. So at least you can get some sort of a feel for how this might look a little different. I'm now going to zoom out a little bit. This is my 30,000-foot view about just what is Gilligan's novel insight here. I think Gilligan is kind of excitingly alive to an empirical possibility that many other people were not alive to. In particular, there are many types of feminism, according to which if there are any robust gendered differences, those differences have to come from either the environment or social expectations. I'm sure if you think about feminism, there's some ways of thinking about feminism according to which those are the only options. And that's going to come to mind for you if you think about feminism. So Gilligan is thinking, well, maybe not. I mean, maybe there are other ways for there to be gender differences that are robust, right, that persist across populations and stuff. And they don't come from either the environment or from social expectations. So let me give you an analogy. This isn't, as far as I'm aware, an analogy that Gilligan uses, but I find it helpful. Maybe you will too. So some economists have contemplated the possibility, maybe this is right, maybe it's wrong, but they've contemplated the possibility that, hey, maybe it's robustly true that women have a stronger desire than men do to have and to care for children. And that that's not just due to the environment or social expectations. I don't know, maybe that's true. Those economists have then proposed that if it is true that there is this robust gender difference, then we need to structure society such that women don't feel a burden because of this robust gender difference. So you can think to yourself, what are some possibilities for structuring society that we could enact that would make this robust difference less burdensome to women? So for example, maybe we should all have paid parental leave. Maybe we should have universal childcare. Those are some societal measures that we could take that would alleviate what would otherwise be pressures on women that arise just from these robust matter of empirical fact differences, if such there are. So done with analogy, coming back to the moral case, by analogy, if it should turn out, as a matter of empirical fact, as Gilligan proposed, that really there are these robust gender differences in moral reasoning, then so too, we need to be alive to that possibility, and we shouldn't be prejudiced against this different orientation. And as in a way, probably not because he was a mean guy, but Kohlberg kind of was prejudiced against that different orientation. Right? Okay, so that's the upshot of the 1982 book, according to me. Rightly or wrongly. There's more to the story though, and I just want to mention that in 2023, Gilligan wrote this new book called In a Human Voice, which quite interestingly tears up the tie between care ethics and gender, which she had worked so hard to install in the earlier work. So here she says, you know, I was telling you about this different voice that women have. It was a feminine thing. No, it's not a feminine thing. It's a universal human capacity. Everybody can be a care ethicist. And why would people develop this capacity to be a care ethicist? It's all because of the bad patriarchy. The bad patriarchy separates reason from emotion, self from relationships, right? And so we're all harmed by this in principle, very much, including boys and men who are socially expected to suppress the care ethical concern. So it's a consequence of this new reframing that the ameliorative project she was undertaking before, it's much bigger because now it's got to help not just women, but everybody. So I think that's pretty much where I'll leave it for now. I hope it's clear that Gilligan has made really exciting contributions to our thinking about moral development and moral reasoning. And you know, it's an honor to be associated with her through this prize.
I'd like to thank the deans and the faculty for incredibly informative and inspiring presentations on this year's laureates. I think we will all come away from all of this with a better understanding of each of the laureates' accomplishments and why they have been awarded the Kyoto Prize. Absolutely spectacular. Thank you. Thank you. This program today and the recent successes of the Kyoto Prize Symposium would not have been possible without our dedicated and talented team who are really at the helm of the organization that we have. And I'd like to recognize our executive director. Marissa, if you would stand up. Takeuchi Lin. And our operations manager, Brian, I don't know where you are. Ah, there he is at the back. And I would also like to recognize the contributions of our past executive director, Dick Davis. I'd like to end our program with a few brief comments and some reminders. One, we want you to help us with ideas of how we can better host and benefit from the visiting laureates. Two, please help us spread the word on the following very important events. March 10th, 2026, I hope you'll all be there. That is our benefit gala at the Conrad, and it supports our ability as the Kyoto Prize Symposium to host the laureates and also support youth educational opportunities, which is very fundamental to our mission. March 11th and 12th, that's when the laureate lectures will be at UCSD, the Price Center. It's open to the public and should be extremely interesting after what we have just heard. And if there are research institutes or art groups or industry or other groups that would be interested in engaging with our current laureates, please let us know. The Kyoto Prize Symposium has been for 25 years supporting merit-based scholarships. And this is extremely important. This is the who and the why and the how we can be helpful to the next generation. And we have scholarships up to $10,000 that we award to San Diego recipients and up to 100,000 pesos for our Mexico recipients. And the applications are open this fall, facilitated by the San Diego Foundation. So please help us in getting the word out about these scholarship opportunities. Our outreach program, which is for our underserved high school students, we want to be able to open their minds to the possibilities that exist that are not typically within what they're taught or how they're raised. And to do that, currently, we sponsor free busing, lunches, campus tours at UCSD, and from the underserved communities of San Diego. And we do this in partnership, obviously, with our co-host universities, but also with the college preparation organizations that exist, like I saw Gabby. Teens Rise Foundations is one. Jennifer, founder of the Wynwood Academy, is another one. And I hope I don't slaughter the Spanish, the Fundación Internacional de la Comunidad. So, altogether, these organizations help with our current outreach program. So, in conclusion, we need your help financially. We want to develop a need-based scholarship program. And we want to be able to translate Inamori's belief in striving for the greater good of humanity and the world with practical actions, actual actions. That's very much what he would want us to be doing. And it's certainly what we want to do. And we want you, every one of you, to leave here inspired by the positive role that you can play in making this a better world. All of us can do that and need to. And thank you for supporting us in our 25th anniversary. Thanks very much.